What's going on, everybody? Doc from Average Gamer Guys back yet again, and finally finishing off the last of the Awakening the Nightmare mission guides, full walkthroughs, optional bonus objectives, gold medals, phoenix logs. We're going to complete this one, Mission 5, Manifestation. And honestly, guys, this is probably one of the easiest ones to finish out, and not necessarily maybe to get a gold medal on, but at least to walk through the mission and to finish up the bonus and optional objectives. We only have bonus objectives in this one. It's kill 30 units, flood units, with the Lich Vanguard, and then do not lose any mega turrets throughout the mission. That's it. The rest of it, as you can see, it's pretty similar to a lot of the pretty standard final missions that we see. You get full base building capabilities here, and then it's a pretty canned mission. So I'm actually gonna go at about 2 times the speed throughout the rest of the mission. I don't want to take too much time. I'm just gonna give some basic, general, overall tips for success for this one. And just kind of how to set up and the things that you need to do in order to be successful and to finish the mission without too much trouble. As we know, moving into it, you're looking for that gold medal. You obviously want to do both those bonus objectives and also get the 2 phoenix logs that are in here. You're going to see that the phoenix logs are relatively simple to grab, so you'll see those as we roll through. But the biggest thing here, first and foremost, is just going to be take a little bit of time, get your base set up going the way you want it to. You don't start with a whole lot of power or supplies, so you really are going to need to build up. You do, however, get a pretty good chunk of units to start with, so you can use them pretty well to start moving around the map. And you're going to find that this mission is staged very similarly, especially once you make it to the kind of the second half, I would call it, where you face the final flood boss, and then you start to face the tentacles and having to move around. So how I'm setting my base up, very similar. A couple power, a couple supply generators down, get that rolling, start moving some troops out just to kind of scout the area, move around a little bit, just see how everything is going. Again, you've got a pretty robust army that you can use that's pretty beneficial for you, so they're going to be able to do some good damage, so don't be afraid to move them around and start moving across the map. The first thing I'm trying to get to, obviously, I'm just trying to fully upgrade the base. You really don't have to worry too much about the base getting attacked itself, so don't put too much time or effort or supplies into defending it. I would put a couple turrets up, obviously. If you feel like doing a shield generator, not a bad idea either. But beyond that, my biggest push was to get really just to get the War Council as well as the air pad up. I'm going to run pure Banshees pretty much on this one throughout the rest of this fight for a couple reasons. One, they can fly over the tentacles that are going to end up getting in your way, so that's a huge benefit. 2, they're very mobile, and there's actually quite a lot of the flood units, the tentacles and things like that, that can't actually hurt them. So it's hugely beneficial to stick to the air. They are a little bit squishy when they do get targeted, but that is perfectly okay, because you're going to have some pretty good ground forces. You obviously have your 2 heroes you're going to be able to use as well. And you know, really the only other push for base building obviously is getting your War Council up to increase your base defense, as well as to increase, and probably more importantly, to increase how fast you can pump out units and your total population cap. Beyond that, again, really, I'm just making Banshees. I'm going to power them up. I'm going to get as many as I can. I'm going to group them together, and they're really, really strong, especially once they're upgraded. And they're just quick, and again, they can dodge the tentacles that are going to come up and get in the way. They can move across the map extremely quickly, which is going to be a key factor for you being able to get the gold medal on this mission, as it relates to finishing it under par time. That's going to be, as always, that's the biggest factor that goes into this. And then on top of that, your combat bonus should be quite good, for the sole fact that you really shouldn't lose a whole lot of them. It's not a bad idea to bring some engineers in as well. They can heal up. You can feel free to build any other unit that you want. Like I said, the tentacles, they are going to go down eventually. You do maybe spend a little bit more time if you were to work primarily a ground force. Like I said, I found Banshees just to be the simplest, the easiest way to maneuver and get around. So as we roll into this, the one thing, you really just got to stay consistent with 2 things. Getting the 30 kills with the Lich Vanguard I didn't find to be too difficult. Just make sure that you can buy it as soon as you have it available in the leader tree. And you're going to see me use it in quite a few different spots. The best spots actually to use it are and use it in is going to be when you're actually trying to take down the boss itself. You're trying to break and shoot kind of the pods or the mouth or whatever that is on the side of it, because you're going to get a pretty consistent flow of enemies. So it's a good idea to drop that in. Use that power. You can build units off of that as well, which is pretty interesting. But I found that to be the best spot to be able to pick up quite a few kills, especially since you'll be able to move your Banshees and kind of keep them targeted and focused on the actual boss itself, while that Vanguard can actually go ahead and do a lot of the damage to the units on its own, which is really beneficial. This mission is definitely long enough. I know this video is relatively short. The mission is definitely long enough for you to be able to use it and call it in quite a few different times. Like I said, the biggest thing there being, as soon as you get it, just make sure you use it and you place it in a relatively decent spot where you're going to get some flow of enemies coming through. The second bonus objective here is to not lose any mega turrets throughout the course of the mission. Essentially, the way this is going to play out, as you're seeing, is that you're going to take down mini bases. That mini base you're then going to build or get a mega turret on it, in addition to some additional slots. That mega turret is then going to shoot the boss, shoot the tentacle, so it allows you to free up to get to a different area to then attack the boss from a different direction. You're going to rinse and repeat this 3 different times until you get all the mega turrets up. They fire, take the tentacles down, and then you'll move on to the last portion of the mission, which, not to spoil anything, and you'll see here in just a second, but it's going to be to get a Retriever Sentinel in to kind of deal the final blow. So with all that being said, the one issue I did run into, I did have to restart one time playing through this. You have to be very careful and very cognizant of when you call in those mega turrets and you call that base in. The base is actually quite vulnerable even on easy, so make sure you're leaving some forces there to defend. Again, another reason I really like the Banshees. The Banshees, as soon as those tentacles move out of the way, as soon as you get a clear path, you're going to be able to just fly them over, knock that mini base out, which isn't going to take a whole lot at all, as long as you got a decent force of Banshees all grouped together, and you're just going to see that they're going to destroy that. The base is going to get built, but there's going to be a pretty consistent wave of enemies that comes in to destroy that base even before it gets built. Or if it doesn't succeed in doing that, what ended up happening to me was I moved my Banshees in, I had them fight, take the base down, they hung out for a few seconds, and I actually flew them back towards the boss in the middle because I knew the mega turret was going to shoot and I was going to try to continue to move forward with the mission. What ended up happening to me is the Flood did quite a bit of damage, got the base down into red health before it was finished. It then ends up getting built. The mega turret pops up, it goes to initiate the fire. Before it can do that, some Flood units come in and actually take it out, and I missed that bonus objective. Luckily for me, I had a checkpoint. I was able to kind of rinse and repeat and get after that. That's another thing that definitely don't be afraid to use throughout these, especially if you're trying to get the gold medals, trying to get the Phoenix logs, or just trying to beat the mission in general. Use those checkpoints. They're extremely helpful. This one, they seem to be a little bit more sporadic, but you do get them after each kind of mega turret shot, so kind of keep that in mind and just keep an eye on them. I have found that after building it and after the mega turret fires, you're really not going to get to see too much pressure on those mini bases after that. Might not be a bad idea to leave 1 or 2, maybe 3 Banshees behind at each, but for the most part, you kind of repel the initial wave when it's getting built and it's charging up to fire, and then after that, it pretty much kind of handles itself. So again, I know I'm fast forwarding through this, but like I said, this is a pretty easy mission as far as what you need to do. It's relatively canned, and beyond just upgrading, continuing to build, and continue to pump out units to get to your population cap, the rest of it pretty much kind of plays on autopilot, like I said. So make sure to get out there, make sure you're using your Lich Vanguard you're dropping it in a good spot. Like I said, I like to place it right where I'm trying to attack the boss, because you're going to get a good flood and good flood waves of enemies coming in. And then for your mega turrets, you can do those in any order as well, so you don't have to use the same pattern I did, but just make sure you're keeping the units there after you destroy that mini base as it's getting built in order to defend it. And then, like I said, might not be too terrible of an idea to leave just a few units there, just really for security's sake, and to make sure that that building doesn't accidentally get taken down. The other reason, and I forgot to mention this at the beginning, but the other real reason I really like the Banshees is they seem to have a pretty easy time targeting the different areas of the boss, which is nice, because at one point you have to kind of shoot it essentially in the head or the mouth, whatever you want to call it, the thing on top. And they have the capability to kind of fly in, get a little bit closer, and do some pretty good damage. Don't forget about your hero units though either. They're going to do a great job of exposing the weak point and getting to that portion, so don't be afraid to use them. Get them in the fray. Use them effectively. They're going to be probably your best fighters, single unit fighters on the battlefield, because they can't die. They're just going to recharge. And they have good shields, good damage as well. So just make sure to kind of keep that in mind. But I really like this mission. I really like the campaign in total. A lot of fun. I think they did a great job introducing the flood without making it too silly, I guess, or too outside of what seemed possible as far as the lore. And the nice thing is, after this mission, we get a really, really cool cutscene. So if you are working through it, enjoy that as well. But hopefully this guide was helpful. Again, 2 bonus objectives to go ahead and to knock out. And then the rest of the mission, like I said, just grabbing the Phoenix logs and kind of playing it through step by step. Banshees are going to be your best friend and my absolute favorite, but I definitely do feel like you could do this with a lot of other units as well. So you're going to see we're going to wrap it up here, and we're going to get the gold medal, which is always very, very beneficial. You're also going to see that we knock out a couple achievements, finishing this up, obviously completing the mission and completing the entire campaign on any difficulty. You're also going to see that we did, with this method, using the Banshees and moving them quickly around the map, we're going to get the achievement before this gets out of hand, which isn't allowing the Proto Gravemind to get above or exceed 50%, which is also really cool. So make sure to kind of keep focus on that. But if you use the strategy, really shouldn't have too much problem. You're going to see we get 100,000 points in each of the combat and time bonus, and we finished the mission just under par time, which is really nice too. And then just as a refresher, here is the final objectives, the 2 bonus, again killing 30 units with the Lich Vanguard and not losing any mega turrets throughout the entirety of the mission. So what's nice, if you're like me, you got a couple achievements that you can knock out when you finish this up. Keep your eye on that Proto Gravemind and how much it's kind of charging up rather, and just make sure to keep that under the 50%, and you should walk out of this mission with some pretty good stuff. So as always, hopefully it was helpful for you. If you're new to the channel, please do make sure to subscribe. Really does help us out. And as always, thank you guys so much for watching. I'm a Doc from Average Gamer Guys. We'll catch you in the next one.